If anybody wants the recording and doesn't know where to find it, chat Melissa here. She's in the community as well. If you don't know me, I'm Alex. I run partner programs and Partner Hub. Melissa's on my team. She's on this call. And then Joey Gilkey, of course, is the man of the hour. And we're here to talk about lead generation. Yeah. Account-based sales. Yeah. But Joey's got a system and a process, and he's the one that we always refer to if we're talking to agencies about any sales processes. We house Joey's content in a awesome course inside of our community. If you haven't checked that out, and we're going to learn some new stuff today. So very, very, very excited and thankful, Joey. Go ahead and
right on, man. Well, I will. You want to jump in?
Yeah, go ahead and do a quick intro while you get set up there, and then we'll.
Cool. Yeah, I'm all set up. So whenever you want to spotlight me, feel like you can do that. My name is Joey Gilkey, CEO of Sales Driven Agency, which we are a consulting firm that builds sales operations for digital agencies specifically. So we build all their sales processes. We hire and train their sales people. We build out their sales technology and enablement and tie it up in a nice bow and make you millions of dollars. I'm also the founder of the Best Damn Agency Mastermind. So I have a mastermind with 7- and 8-figure agencies only, CEOs of those agencies only. So that's what I do. I only work with agencies. I work with you guys in mostly a sales capacity. I've built over 300 sales operations for agencies. And so, pardon my language, but I know my shit when it comes to sales. And so I'd like to teach you some of that if you're okay with that. If you guys are cool with that, let's rock and roll.
Yeah.
So am I spotlighted? I think I am. If I'm not, cool. So I'm gonna do a little whiteboard stuff. I have a little iPad whiteboard stuff. So I'm a big fan of what is called account-based selling. I'm sure you guys have heard of account-based marketing, account-based sales, account-based everything. For me, I am a fan of account-based selling, which is how is it that we can hand select our dream clients for our agency. I think a lot of us are operating in this place of we take what we can get. If a referral comes in, dope. Maybe we have some sales processes in place, but it's unpredictable or it's not bringing the right types of people. And we would much rather hand select our dream clients than wait on our hands for our dream clients. So hand selection. So how do we do that? We believe in a model called account-based selling. And so I think it's important that we break down what is account-based selling versus the alternative. So the first thing is, what is the traditional way of selling that most of you are familiar with and probably dislike a lot? It is what we call the spam your TAM approach. TAM standing for total addressable market. Spam meaning mass blast, one-to-many type of selling. You're probably used to it. You're used to the smile and dial, bang on the phones all day, send mass amounts of emails in a campaign to a large list, et cetera, right? It's throw thousands of prospects in the top, and we work them through our process until we get a tiny little number of 0.0 something % to come out the bottom. And these are our clients. And this is how we make money through sales in a spam your TAM type of approach. I don't love this approach. It can work. If you have a productized service, it is possible. If you have a very streamlined, we do the same thing for everyone, or the same thing for a specific type of person at any time. This is an okay approach. And also, if you have a large market, I'll talk about the benefits and or pros and cons here in a second. So the alternative is account-based sales, right? That is the title of what it is I'm teaching. So account-based selling is that hand selecting your clients, right? So instead of having the funnel where it's wide at the top, it's really, really, really skinny at the bottom, let's flip it on its head and let's decide what clients do we want to come out the bottom, and then how do we reverse engineer that funnel to get them to pay us, and therefore be the hand selected dream clients that our agency would like to have. And so I'm going to break down a little bit, a couple takeaways here. Very big difference. So I'm going to give you two scenarios. The left hand side, so this side over here is spam your TAM. The right hand side is account based sales. Let's say hypothetically in a spam your TAM type of model, we go after 5,000 prospects, right? So 5,000 potential clients in our total addressable market. We are going to get a very small percentage of those to turn into clients. I'm going to give you a generous 1%. And I say generous because you're not even going to get that. Doing elementary math, that would be 50 clients or deals that we get out of our 5,000 prospects that we went after. In an account-based sales approach, what I would prefer to see is we have a very methodical type of sales approach, and we go after 500 prospects. We convert 15% of them in time, which doing elementary math is 75. So we go after a tenth of the amount of prospects, we get 50% as many clients out of the bottom. I would prefer that model. I hope you guys would as well. That is the difference between a spam your TAM versus account-based sales approach. So now we got to talk about the pros and cons of this. Obviously, that's a very obvious pro and con. And there are pros to the one-to-many spam your TAM approach. There are also cons to the one-to-few account-based sales approach. One-to-many, it's scalable, right? If we do the same thing over and over again, mass blasting, I can scale that. It's a very simplistic way of selling. It just happens to be a volume play. You can also look at the data and get some predictability out of it. There is a positive there. I like predictability in a business. If you can pull off scalable, predictable, and you're okay with the cons I'm about to mention, then I think the one-to-many spam your TAM approach is great. What are some of the downsides? You can exhaust your market very quickly. I can go after 5,000 people, and if my market's 5 or 10,000 people, I'm going to go after my entire market within this year. And what happens after the campaigns are over? Do I go after them again? Well, if I do, what might I do? Damage my brand, right? Because you're annoying the shit out of your market. And then on top of that, the other part is obvious low conversion, right? I don't like having low conversions. I hope you don't either. So that is the one-to-many. If you like these things and you can deal with these things here, then I think it's a great model for you. I don't like those. I don't like the negatives of this, so I choose not to tend to this one. So what is the next model? Well, one-to-few account-based sales, couple benefits. Semi-scalable. I say semi, and I'll explain that in a little bit. Doesn't quite scale as easy as a spam your TAM approach, but it is semi-scalable. It also can be very predictable. If you know how to create metrics and data and analyze them, those can tell you a story. That story can spit out common themes, which is predictability. The other benefit is a high conversion percentage. As we mentioned right here, right? I'd much rather have this conversion rate, win rate, than a 1% or less. The next is you will never, ever, ever run out of prospects. So you'll never exhaust your market. What is the downside? It is semi-expensive. Okay. You are going after fewer prospects, and it is going to cost you a little bit more, either time or money. And if you look at your time like I look at mine, time is money. And so you've got to realize, what is the give and take here? What is the cost per acquisition, both direct cost per acquisition and indirect cost per acquisition? Cool. So the three categories of doing account-based sales, I at least look at them in three buckets. Intel. So we've got intel, we've got strategy, and we've got execution. Intel, what goes into the Intel stack or the Intel category bucket is understanding your ideal customer profile, who it is that you serve, what does your agency actually do, and for whom do they do it for? The next is data. I can't tell you enough how important clean data is when it comes to doing sales, especially account-based sales. You want to have clean data because you're taking all this time to do a more or a less scalable model that has a higher conversion. If you have the wrong data on the people that you need to reach out to, then you can do a lot of effort and not be able to get in front of them because you are going after the wrong data. Next is context. We want to do the hard research. It does take more time, But we want to develop context for the prospects we're going after. That means finding out their interests, finding out the things that they're involved in, finding out what their day-to-day looks like, right? A lot of these all tie in together. And the last is you want to be able to have multiple contacts per company. And I'll explain why in a little bit. The next is strategy. So this stack here, second strategy, or the second stack is strategy. Where are they at? You've got to put a strategy together of how, you're going to hit them multiple times from multiple different angles. Where are they spending their time? How are you going to get in front of them? Phone, email, social, direct mail in 2021 works very well, believe it or not. All right, this is the strategy. And then the last part would be cadence. So in which order, how often, how many times are we going to be utilizing phone, email, social, DM to get in front of your ICP, right? Or your multiple contacts at your client. The last part is execution, time blocking. So we got to be able to carve time out to actually do this. And we've got to have the people to do this. The people might just be you, might be you, the agency owner, might be a salesperson, might be a sales team, might be a combination of you and a sales admin, right? An executive assistant that helps you pull this off, or a sales assistant that helps you pull this off. Nonetheless, you've got to determine who are the people that do this. Cool. Also, you guys feel free to stop me at any point and ask questions. But I'm going to talk about something super interesting. So I mentioned semi-scalable. Account-based sales is tough. At the end of the day, I'm gonna show you guys here, I'll be on the screen. Account-based sales is tough to do. It's rewarding, it works. For all the green check marks I gave you there, account-based sales is my personal favorite if you can learn how to pull it off, right? But the most difficult thing about it is it does not scale, right? And it's more time intensive, it's maybe even more money intensive. And so I have created a methodology called campaign scaling that I'm going to break down for you guys in a second on how it is that we can take something that is very seemingly unscalable and semi-scale it so that you can get in front of more of the hand-selected dream clients you want to work with. Cool? All right, so let me talk about campaign scaling. So there's a difference in sales, whether it's spam your TAM or account-based selling. There's really two different types of sales: high touch selling and high tech selling. High touch, not scalable. High touch it's extremely labor intensive. It requires more energy, maybe even requires more money. High tech, very, very scalable, right? Think I'm going to use SalesLoft or HubSpot sequences or Lemlist or any of these tools where you can drop a massive list of people in and you can create some sort of custom token and you can send 1,000 emails in one day if you really wanted to. Highly suggest not doing that. It will hurt your domain, but you could technically do that. That would be high tech selling. I like to blend the two in a sales campaign, right? And so the first thing is I got to define a campaign. A campaign is a sequence of touch points. 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 16 touch points, a sequence of touch points where the end goal is to exit a prospect into either a no or a yes, right? The goal is to get an answer. Yes, I'm interested in talking. No, I'm not interested at all. Go F yourself, pound sand, right? A typical campaign is we're going to string together this massive long thing, and I'm going to make phone calls, I'm going to shoot emails, I'm going to do social, etc. And it's one long string of campaigns. I don't love this model. It can work, but at the end of the day, typically we'll throw a prospect in here and they'll get hit 16 times, 12 times, 15 times, a lot of which is automated, and then they will eventually exit your campaign, never to be touched again. What I prefer in an account-based sales campaign scaling is micro campaigns. So micro campaigns would be very similar to a typical campaign, but instead of stringing together one long campaign, you're stringing together 3 to 4 micro campaigns that combines high touch and high tech. And I'll explain that in here in a minute. But what it would simply look like is you've got a touch point, you've got a touch point, a touch point, a touch point. They exit out, or sorry, boom. They exit out of this campaign, this micro campaign, you set them on a new campaign, different strategy, different approach. They exit out here, you set them on a new one, so on and so forth. You guys get it, right, et cetera. So I want to explain this in a graph. This is kind of how I like to conceptualize micro campaigning and campaign scaling. So when I say campaign scaling, this is the easiest way I know how to scale something that does not scale. And that is by combining high touch and high tech. Something that I want you guys to look at is on the X and Y axis here, you will notice time and you will notice money. In the campaign scaling model, as you progress up your micro campaigns, it requires more time and more money, right? So why do we do this? Why don't we just start up here where we know we're going to have our highest conversions more than likely, where it's the most expensive and requires the most time? I'll explain an example. Why would we start up there? Or why wouldn't we start up there? Because there's a lot of low-hanging fruit that's going to convert down here. Cost per acquisition is lower. We want to find those people who we can convert at a lower cost per acquisition because that helps us from a profitability perspective, right? And we're also going to convert here and reinvest some of the dollars we make into these more expensive campaigns, right? So that's just a philosophy of mine. You can start high and low. So what this looks like, the square boxes you guys will see here. So these boxes, I want them to represent something to you that is high touch. So I mentioned high touch for first high tech. Campaign scaling, the way that I'm able to scale this is I only really have 4 total high touch points in the sale or in the sales process, the outreach, right? Following that, these black dots represent high tech touch points. So this is your more scalable type of touch point. Okay, so this is your automated emails. This is your LinkedIn automation. This is your voicemail drop that you just click a button and it auto calls them and auto drops them a voicemail, all these different things, right? And so what you do is as you progress up this campaign scale, you're going to do something that is more high touch here, but it's less time, less money. Let me give you an example. An example would be some time invested would be, I'm going to shoot a video using Loom or Vidyard or something of that nature, right? You guys have all seen that. It's kind of an older tactic nowadays. But I'm gonna give you an example. So that would be a first touch point. And you're gonna do something unique in there. You're gonna do it for each prospect, right? Because it's one-to-one, one-to-few outreach. And in these high-tech touch points here underneath it is a small micro campaign that references back to the high touch thing that we did. Right? We're wanting to stretch the effectiveness of the high touch. The high touch is more than likely the thing's going to get their attention. And if it doesn't convert them, then we want to refer back to and maximize the effect of our high touch point by utilizing tech that references it. Okay. So let me erase some of this so it's not so loud. So an example, so that's an example, right? So maybe we'd send 10 prospects initially into campaign 1. And our goal is to get a 15-20% conversion on this or something along those lines. Let's say we get 2 meetings out of this, 2 FTAs, maybe 3 FTAs. Right? So 3 first-time appointments go through this, and we're gonna have 3 conversions, which means we have what? 7 left over. Okay? And what we would do is we would then take those 7 that are remaining that did not convert, and we would take it up a level. Higher touch, high touch at the beginning, which requires more time, more money. Let me give you an example. So something that my company does is let me actually talk to you guys. So we help agency owners fire themselves from sales is kind of a language we use by building up their sales team for them, their sales processes, et cetera. A campaign that we ran that would be kind of this next level, takes more time, it takes a little bit more money, is a FedEx campaign. Right, so this high touch point, what we did was we get one of those FedEx sign for envelopes, right? So you pay extra money and the person whom you're sending it to has to sign for this, which means I know they have 100% open rate because if they didn't sign for it, I'm gonna know about it, right? So 100% open rate on this campaign. Inside of this FedEx sign for is going to be, and I wanna draw your attention back, fire yourself, right? That's our theme here. Is going to be one of those pink slip termination letters, right? You guys have heard of those back in the day, right? When you got fired from a massive company, we've all heard of these termination pink slips. So inside of this FedEx is a pink slip that says termination letter. We handwrite their name on it. We say you've been terminated from sales position at, enter their company name. We slap an ugly yellow post-it note on there that says you're fired, and then a URL that says www.salesdrivenagency.com/Alex or something like that, right? They go to that website because of course they're curious, like, what the hell is this thing I just got in the mail? It's saying I'm fired. It's got my company name. It's personalized to me. They go to the website. On the landing page, it's just a simple landing page video. It's me talking, say, hey, you probably got this thing. You're probably wondering what the hell is this thing that I got? You're fired. Here's what I mean by that. We help agency owners fire themselves from sales by building out their sales team, creating process around them, and ensuring they're successful by building out the sales operation. I'd like to set up a call, and then there's a button below for my calendar, etc. Super high conversion, right? But it took more time and it took money, right? It cost about $14 per letter. So you're looking at $14 for 7 people. You do the math, it's about $100 there. And as you add more prospects, that adds up. So you're going to send the 7 people into the campaign. We're going to work them through. Again, these 3 are automated touch points in the back end. And as they're automated in the back end, what are they doing? They're referencing back to, hey, I'm the weird guy who sent you the fired letter. Hey, I'm the one who said you're fired and sent you the termination letter. You know, maybe it's a stock video that you created for all your prospects and you drop it in LinkedIn. Hey, I'm the weird guy. You know, I'm the one who sent in direct mail in 2021. It was the fire yourself letter. Hopefully it got your attention, right? Those are the automated things you can do on the back end. And then you're probably going to convert 3 people there. And so you got 4 people left. You send those 4 people back up here and you get more expensive, requires more time. Once you get up here to this like 4th level here, this is things like giftology. If you guys have read the book Giftology, or you've thought of, or you've heard of like gifting specific to the prospect. If I find out that someone talking, sorry. If I find out that you are I'll give you a good example. So if you collect vintage lunch boxes, and I find that out somehow, I look at your Instagram, or my assistant does, I find a YouTube video of you talking about your wall of vintage lunch boxes that you're a collector of. Super niche, right? What I'm going to do once I get to that 4th level campaign, where I can afford to spend this kind of money because I'm looking for high conversion, and I've not gotten the low hanging fruit before that, is I'm going to go bid on a freaking vintage lunchbox on eBay that I don't think that you have. And I'm going to send it to you in the mail with a handwritten letter inside of it and say, I heard you collect these. I know we're in different cities and I can't grab lunch with you, but why don't we grab a few minutes on Zoom? Who's not going to respond to that? It's expensive. It's like $300 for that lunchbox. Who spends $300 on a lunchbox? I don't know, but this guy did. Nonetheless, who's not going to respond to that? So by the time I get to the end of this campaign, I'm trying to get an answer from 85% of people, right? And I'm trying to close 15% of them by the end of the day. So if I go after 100 people, I better get $1.5 million out of it. That's my goal. Okay. My average deal is $100,000. That's how I got there. But I'm just saying for you guys to think through, that's how account-based sales should be built. And this is how you scale account-based selling. And this is how you create and think through process around account-based selling. I'm gonna leave my email there. If you guys want to write that down, feel free to reach out. I won't read it, my assistant will, but then he'll send it to me and then I'll read it. So if you guys want to reach out and talk to me, you want help with this, you guys want to, pick my brain, as they say. I hate that phrase, but nonetheless, Joey at salesdrivenagency.com, or just go to the website and check it out.
Love it, man.
Questions?
Tyler, you're off mute. Did you want to ask a question, or I'm going to jump in? Nope, you're good. I love it. Yeah, I'm always eager to know. I mean, that was a terrific strategy. So the strategy that you mentioned there, if you missed it, I think a couple people showed up a little bit late. You can recap it watching this video in a little bit, but the tools that are necessary to execute this and some of the things that you're using now, I'm always a geek for
Yep.
software.
Okay. So one, you don't need any tools. If you want to use an Excel spreadsheet and you want to be old school, you can do that. The beauty of account-based selling is you don't need, unless you're utilizing intent-based data, or you're doing account-based selling at scale with 20 people, you don't need all the things. I highly suggest it. We use it. So CRM, obviously, I actually don't give a shit about a CRM unless it's how you use the CRM, right? It's being methodical about how you use it. It's about having sales process built into your CRM. I developed a methodology called the stacking methodology. I don't know. I wrote about it somewhere on my website. You can't find it unless I tell you the exact link. So apologies. I'll figure that out and send it to you. But the stacking methodology is just a way of staying on top of every prospect, knowing where they're at in the process at all times, what to do next, and that way you can stay on top of it. So CRM, you can use sales engagement tools. So I use HubSpot for CRM. I use either the HubSpot sequencing tool for some of the high tech stuff, the more automated things, or I integrate Apollo.io with HubSpot, which is essentially a data resource plus a sequencing tool that bidirectionally syncs with HubSpot. And then obviously there's things you can do, like Postal.io is cool for sending like stuff in the mail in a more automated way. Postcards, handwritten letters, things like that. Phone, we just do it straight out of HubSpot, or you can use AirCall. And I'm trying to think what else. I mean, you can use Zoom Info for data and those kind of things, but it's like a $30,000 investment that you don't necessarily need for account-based sales, unless you're doing massive lists. But that's the predominant use, man. I'm not overly sexy with the tools, because here's my thing: simple scales, complex fails. And that you just watch as complex as it is. And so I want the tech to be simple as possible. And if it doesn't make me both more efficient and more effective, I don't want to use it, right? I'm not going to sacrifice efficiency for effectiveness. Well, I'd rather sacrifice efficiency for effectiveness than effectiveness for efficiency.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? And so I think you have to ask yourself that question when you adopt any tool: is, will this make us more efficient? Will it make us more effective?
Yeah, no, I'm going to paste a link to a solution that relates to account-based sales. If you're not co-selling with other agencies, so for example, if you and Joey are both targeting larger agencies, I think most people in this community are targeting the end-all be-all company, but just as a hypothetical, if you want to go after larger agencies and you want to get spillover lead flow, or maybe you're doing top shelf PPC and they're doing top shelf SEO, they're just a bigger agency like you, you can get with Joey and load your accounts to Reveal, just sync CRM or upload your accounts and run an account mapping routine with Joey to say, hey, who's in your pipeline that's not in mine, who's in mine that's not in yours, and who's in the middle, those people that we're both targeting, and then go down that middle list and say, where are they at and what's going on with each one of these URLs, and provide warm introductions. But then when you go into the account-based strategy, if you are doing co-selling, it's up to your partner, but they can share the actual data with you. So share LinkedIn profile information, or share just company information, or maybe share email. Up to them. Of course, there's compliance risks there that everyone takes on. But the important thing is, with account-based sales, if you can make warm introductions, or if you can say, hey, we're also working with Joey on this, and Joey gave you permission to do that, and then Joey's also going to your leads and saying, hey, I'm working with so-and-so on this as well. That's an effective strategy that's working really well with our agencies that are doing it. Reveal is free all the way through to Connect CRM, so you're not going to hit a paywall, and you can use it and try it out. So that's one of the more effective ones that's working. But
and if it's more elaborate, if you're going after large enterprise, like it's valuable to get tools that are like account-based marketing tools. Terminus is a great one. Sangram Bajre, who started Terminus a long time ago, it's a badass tool. It's great for, it pulls in account-based data. It does awesome marketing automation. I think it's probably the best account-based tool in the market that I'm aware of. that's more holistic. But I don't think you necessarily need it. I just think that if you're going after more enterprise and you're going after a lot of different decision makers in a company, and you want to run a campaign across an entire company, let's just say you're going after Coca-Cola, and you want to basically run a Canvas account-based campaign over all 300 people in the marketing department, and then track their interaction with your brand. It's a great tool to do that.
Killer. And one I just found, line.ai, I posted a link to my friends.
Oh, I saw them recently.
Yeah.
That's a newer tool, isn't it?
Yeah, they allow you to create these awesome introductory email type campaigns using dynamic text that's pulled from recent LinkedIn activity automatically, or recent something. So you don't have to worry about using a VA to like enrich a big data set and go and find their posts related to this. You can just use Line and it pulls in that data. It works. It's super cool. I posted a link to Reveal. I had it in the chat to everybody in the waiting room. So there it is. And then a course, or a class, sorry, on what you should know about LinkedIn updates if you are using LinkedIn to do all this stuff. We had someone talk about specific LinkedIn strategy and some updates to what they're doing, and some really cool stuff you can do. Things like adding multiple headquarter locations to your LinkedIn profile, so you show up in different country searches. Cool things like that. Love it.
Hey, Alex, do we want to use some of this time? Like, I'm happy to just answer any sales question if that would be a good use of time.
Yeah. Anybody have any specific sales questions for Joey right now? It could be on prospecting. It could be.
It doesn't have to be account based. It can be, here's my target market. Here's what I'm thinking about doing, or what would you do in this situation? Be selfish. You got me for 10 more minutes.
Anybody at all? Anecdote? Come on, Steven. I know you're looking up. You got something. I mean, I can use my situation, but I'm
happy to.
You guys' time. Well, then find Joey elsewhere. If you guys don't have any questions right now, I posted a link to his profiles. I'll share that once more. Looks like.
I got.
Oh, Lucas, go ahead, man.
I didn't know if we were supposed to write it out, so I was writing it out. I missed you at the beginning when you were saying something about the one-to-many versus the account-based model at the very beginning, where one-to-many is not the preferred option. I was curious. Is a good example of the one-to-many, sounds like that's what you're talking about at the beginning. Basically, sending like a 52 email sequence like every 3 days to somebody who signed up for your funnel, basically. Is that what you mean?
So I'm talking more in the lane of outbound sales, like going after cold prospects versus someone who's opted in. I think if someone's opted into your funnel, there's the nurturing campaigns you can have on the back end. Like that's more of like marketing automation than it is sales automation.
Awesome. So you still do that.
I still do that. Like when someone opts into my shit, like they're gonna get drips from me, different stuff, and and then obviously there's some marketing automation attached to that based on where they go on the site and things like that. Like that's great. But if it comes to like sales, where it's more like I want to go identify the accounts that I want to work with and I want to go target them, one-to-many would be like taking a large list of prospects and dropping them into an email automation tool and just blasting them all at one time, who are cold, right? Not opted in.
Yeah. Got it.
Steven asked, what do you ask, Steven? Yep, no problem. Steven, what'd you say? What are some other higher touch techniques? Ooh, cool. Man, I've used a bunch. We've had some really cool campaigns. Done some that like ruffle some feathers. So I sent a postcard with Trump's face on it and wrote "You're fired" coming out of his mouth, and that was a part of that "You're fired" campaign. That campaign was fun. I either got a bunch of fuck yous, or you might have to bleep me out, by the way, Alex. I'm not very filtered, so I apologize. So if I'm offending anyone with my cuss words, I don't care. But that campaign was fun because it had high conversions. It also had a lot of people who didn't like it, which was fun to test. Very, very high touch. So we've done some random stuff. Like I mentioned the lunchbox one, but I also have done like I find out it's a company's like 15-year anniversary or something. And this actually happened in early COVID. And so a lot of small businesses were struggling. And so what I did was I contacted a local bakery that was close to this person's office. And by I contacted, I mean my team did, but we created a strategy for it. And so what they did was we reached out to this local bakery, and we got them to make this custom cake that basically said like, congrats on 15 years at XYZ agency. Cakes on us, whatever, and then put a URL on the cake that's just like a random URL that they go to, kind of similar to like the website URL. And when they go to the URL, it was a video of me talking, saying like, hey, I know times are crazy right now. We wanted to get your attention by this. First of all, congrats on 15 years. Second of all, the cake's on us. Third, it's actually from a local bakery of yours. We know that a lot of small businesses are hurting. We want to take care of one of your local businesses. We actually gave them a $100 tip and put it, and said it was from you guys. So keep showing them some love. We're here to support local businesses. And then it was basically into our pitch at that point. A lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of money. I got the meeting, made 250 grand off it. It was worth the $300 it probably cost us. So that's interesting. Why not QR codes? That's a great idea. That's a really great idea. Let's see. Higher touch. We've done some geofencing, geo-targeting campaigns for like locations. So if Traffic and Conversion Summit is going on, I'm going to geo-target the conference center that they're holding it at, and target them with like very specific, hey, you're at Traffic and Conversion Summit ads. Again, like account-based sales combines marketing and sales. So I'm not afraid to use ads. I'm not afraid to do those types of things as well. What else have we done? I sent this. So there's some cheesy stuff you can do. So we've sent a large railroad spike that you would kind of like, these massive sledgehammers, you hit them into these railroad tides to help build out the railroads. And we would send it in bubble wrap in a package, like a FedEx package. I like FedEx because it's orange and purple, which stands out in the mail. And so they open it up, and there's a sticky note inside of the bubble wrap attached to the railroad spike that says, hey, you've been hard to nail down, and you super cheesy, you underline the nail. And like I said, not proud of it, but it freaking works. So stuff like that. Send them, go to Walmart and buy like really cheap ass, like $15 shoes, and like send them one shoe and say, hey, I'm trying to get my foot in the door. Like all that kind of stuff is cheesy, but it just works. It cuts the noise. At the end of the day, your goal is to get attention. Attention creates likability. Likability allows you to prove credibility, and people transact based on credibility. No one's gonna buy because I gave them a shoe or a cake, but it's gonna get me the at bat that proves my credibility, and they're gonna transact based on my credibility.
I like it. Yeah, why are you ducking me? The one that got me forward, little rubber ducky.
Oh, that's cute. I like that one.
I'm going to share one more thing here. Virtual event ideas, Postal. You mentioned Postal, I think. Postal and Sendoso, both great options. You can
Postal, handy written's good for like automated handwritten notes. Yeah, Sendoso is great. I've toyed with that a couple times on different campaigns for clients. Yeah, there's tools galore. Usually there's someone trying to solve a problem. Sometimes it sucks, but it's better than doing it manual.
Yeah, the virtual events, if you do have a little bit of a budget and you have a few target clients in the same sort of either role or vertical, you can look down the branded virtual events from Postal that under that link I just shared. And the cool thing there is they package up the entire event for you. So it's like they'll have a magician that they have in their system that can be at the event. Then they have a packaged up custom box that can go out to everybody that they've already got. It's already got names and video and all that stuff. And all you do is essentially contract the event. And then you go to all of your prospective clients that could be interested in that same type of event and say, hey, our agency is hosting this engaging event for you guys. And we'd love you to get involved in some way, shape, or form. And here's what's going on. And sort of just lean on everything that they've already packaged up for you as resources. That's obviously not cheap, but super effective if you want to bring in a whole bunch of like-minded individuals, heads of marketing, that kind of stuff. Yeah, and partnerships, man. Partnerships as well. It's going to be my 2 cents. Partner. Find co-selling partners.
Solid.
Find
That's good.
partners.
Stephen asked, how do you do geofencing targeting? I personally don't know how to. I mean, so I'll back up. There's a tool called El Toro, which allows you to do IP based retargeting. So that would mean, you can kind of do like similar to AdRoll, where you can hit people up on ESPN and Yahoo and follow them around. You can do that, and you can target the people who hit a particular IP address. So within a 6-month period, if someone signed into this Wi-Fi, this IP address here at this particular location, is usually great if your prospect has a headquarters. El Toro would be a tool that would help you do that. But in terms of geofencing, there's an awesome agency called Propellant Media. They're actually a client of mine. They're a HubSpot agency, but they really specialize in geotargeting, geofencing. So they're amazing at it. If you guys want someone to run a campaign for really affordable, I'd reach out to them and have them kind of handle it for you.
And one last one on that note. This guy, Jordan, friend of mine, he's doing a lot of geofence based stuff. So if you do want to geofence direct mail,
that's cool.
There's some different playbooks that he has. Check these out and hit up Jordan. He's super accessible. He's on LinkedIn, and you can get in touch with him and get him to co-run, white label, whatever you want to do. Some campaigns. I'll put his LinkedIn in here too.
Nice. Was that Blueprint Data?
Yeah, Blueprint Data. There's that, and then honestly, like, hit up Jordan. He'll help manage those campaigns with you. And he started off. He does direct mail. He does geofence direct mail, which not going to be that effective depending on how you use it. Gifting is different than direct mail. Direct mail, gifting, totally different things. But yeah, the virtual event stuff is working really well. Get creative with it. If you don't have ideas, go to Postal's events area. Those are pre-packaged up. They're all done with the gifts and everything. Yeah. And then I think the main takeaways that I have is obviously don't look at bulk data and scaling. Definitely start very one-to-one. Like you mentioned, pick out your key clients, run these creative strategies like the one Joey mentioned. If you want a system built, obviously Joey's here to help build the system around it.
Well, and I think, and you can do one-to-many, right? Like, I think it's not, I have one-to-many campaigns. One of my SDRs makes $100 a day. But the numbers work for me. My market works for me. And we have a lot of things that don't scale on the back end of him. So front layer is one-to-many. Get the low-hanging fruit for virtually nothing. And then behind that, we then start throwing in some campaign scaling for those who aren't low-hanging fruit. And so $100 a day, he's going to have 9 to 10 conversations per day. He's going to convert 2 of those into an appointment a day. So I'm going to get 2 meetings per day off 100 dials. But then there's 98 people who don't convert. And so then they go into something that doesn't scale behind it. So we're just looking at cost per acquisition for that 100 is really simple and it's very cheap. Ooh. And so.
Okay. And I want to ask about that real quick. I know we're pretty much out of time, but insourcing, outsourcing your direct dial. So if I do have prospective clients that have a phone number, they are answering the phone. I don't personally, but you guys, most of you do. What do you suggest there? Hire an SDR, outsource it, and then figure out your scripts and all the systems. And hire. What do you
so the way that because I literally had an agency come to me the other day and ask me this question. So my answer is always, I don't mind outsourcing SDR type of work, like higher volume work. If here, you have a banging sales operation on the back end to handle the leads properly, right? Because here's what typically happens is, I don't mean from a volume perspective, I mean just legitimate process, and you have it dialed. So what you're going to find is if you're driving leads and your sales operation is broken, meaning you don't have process, you don't have streamlined way of running your appointments, you don't have process, you don't have assets, you don't have ways of doing follow-up, you don't have a way of closing, and none of that's streamlined, Ideally too, if you don't have a salesperson who can do all those things for you, meaning like handle those leads, then personally, I just don't think an outsourced model is actually worth it for you. It's going to be a lot of money out and not as much money coming in. And so, but I think at the end of the day, if you are able to have that stuff in place, I don't mind pouring gas on something that's already working. The question I'd ask you is it already working, and are you just doing it to scale?
Yep, I agree. And if you want to test it out, it's not the cheapest routine or option in the world, but one of our clients, Smith.ai, is US based virtual reception, but they do have a service that they don't broadcast, but they will do direct dials on lists that you provide to get them back in your calendar, to get them back to your services page, to get them to do something that you tell them to get them to do. And they charge, I think, $4 a dial, which is expensive.
Yep.
So not cheap, but it's a good way to test it. Like you don't, if you don't want to hire an SDR, try to train them and then take that risk, spend a couple grand on these guys, see if they can get a system working. And then,
yeah. And the reason I say do it after it works, like after something's already working, is like, if you don't help them provide really solid scripts and you don't help them provide really solid templates that are working already, it's not going to work, period. And so like, these are people who aren't in your company. They don't understand your product. They don't understand the market. You could try to teach them, but they don't work for you. And so they're going to make their dials and they're going to get paid per dial. They're not going to care at the quality of the dial because they're going to get paid whether they make the dial or not. And so I think you got to provide those types of things to be successful. Now, if you can do that, more power to you. I think it's awesome. Go do it.
Definitely, man. This has been insightful as always. What are their rates? Lucas asked. I think, yeah, I mentioned $4 an hour. Cool. So any more questions for Joey before we let Joey go? Back to your baby. Back to life.
I actually do. I was just handed the monitor, so I need to make sure he's not waking up. Nope, we're good.
Okay, man. Well, hey man, been a pleasure. Thanks for all the info.
Likewise.
Find Joey, joeygilkey.com, best place.
No, just go to salesdrivenagency.com. Sales driven agency. I want your agency to be driven by the sales department. And come find me there, or just shoot me an email, joey@salesdrivenagency.com.
I'll post those. Melissa's going to put together notes and everything in the video for those if you want to share it with your team, guys. And please, questions, comments, all that stuff, let us have them. Thank you. Take care, guys.
Cool. Awesome team. See y'all.